Hey guys, Jonathan here. I'm really sorry if, the whistling sound that I make every time I say an S. I try very hard not to make that happen, but I don't know what causes it, and I really don't want it to happen because, listening back to my own recordings, it just sounds really bad. So, today I might talk in, a lower voice to try and stop the whistle, because I don't like the whistle. I'm sure that you guys don't like the whistle. I don't even know if you guys can tell that I do the whistle, but I don't like it. So I'm going to try not to, and that might mean that on the words that have an S in them, I'm going to go either faster or speak with a lisp or something just to stop the S, because I don't like it. And unfortunately, S is like a really common letter in the English language, and it's not good, for me at least. But so, I'm going to be showing you a commander deck tech today. The commander is Yennett, Cryptic Sovereign. She's a 5-drop, 3/5 with Vigilance, with Flying Vigilance Menace, so she's super hard to block. Whenever she attacks, you reveal the top card of your library. If its converted mana cost is odd, you cast it without paying its mana cost, and otherwise you draw a card. So for those of you that don't know, in Commander you have one, either a legendary creature or planeswalker or something that says that can be your commander, sitting out to the side, and your deck has to fall into its color combination. So like this one, mine is white, blue, black, so I can build a deck that's white, white, blue, black, blue, black, or just all three. And I chose to build an Esper, which is all three. And so if you ever have enough mana to cast your commander, which sits outside the game in a commander zone, you can do it, and then it comes into the battlefield as a normal creature with Summoning Sickness, unless it has haste, and you get the basic idea. It's like it's in your hand at all times, but it's not. If it would ever die, you can instead put it back to the command zone if you want. If you don't, that's okay. But you can put it back to the command zone if you want. And then if you wanted to play it again, it costs 2 additional colorless to play. So if she were to die once, it would cost 7 to bring her back instead of just the 5. So we're going to be playing mostly odd cards in the deck. So like 1-drop, 3-drop, 5-drops, so on. And I went through and counted the cards. Because the commander counts as 1 card in the deck, so we have 99 cards in the rest of the deck. It has to be exactly 100. And if you had 2 commanders, which there are some commanders that do that, you would have to have 98 cards in the deck. I just wanted to clarify that before anybody gets in the comments and asks me, which I doubt would ever happen. But anyway, so I went through and counted the cards. There's 50 non-lands that we can cast for free, and then the rest of them we have to put into our hands, so that would be 49 other cards. So we have a higher chance of casting something as opposed to drawing it, and even if we draw a land, it's not always a bad thing. Sometimes it's good. But I'm gonna show you the 1-drops and first, and then we're gonna move on from there, going along the chain. So Elixir of Immortality is our first 1-drop. It's an artifact. You pay 2, tap it, gain 5 life, shuffle it and your graveyard into its owner's library. A lot of times we'll be drawing our decks out super duper quickly, and if we do, we want some way to get our graveyard back into our deck, that way that we don't die. Plus it's got, it's a good life gain, and if we ever need that extra 5 life. But we really shouldn't, because most of the cards, when they come out, they will combo with each other, and I've had, infinite life twice before while I was playing the deck, and I've played, 5 games with it. So, infinite life, I've made infinite tokens a couple times, and usually the infinite tokens cause the infinite life. But yeah, a ton of fun stuff with that. The next one that we run is Skull Clamp. So it's an equipable artifact. It says equip creature gets +1, -1. Whenever it dies, you draw 2, and its equip cost is 1. We use that a lot with some of our smaller creatures to kill them off and draw us cards, because we can usually get them back very easily. Sometimes there'll be tokens and we just don't need them, so or sometimes we'll even just equip it to something and swing with it. It's more damage, and if they block it, it's probably going to die, so then we get to draw the 2. So it's a multi-purpose artifact, and it's really good. Then the next card that we run is Soul Ring. It's a little bit expensive, but it is important to our deck. It's that ramp. You tap it, you add 2 colors to your mana pool. It's a 1-drop, so you get this down turn 1. Now we're on turn 3. We're ahead of our opponents most of the time, and almost all commander decks will run a Soul Ring. So it's basically a commander staple. By the way, in Commander decks, you can only have one copy of each card in the deck, which is slightly annoying, but it does spark innovation, and it's why I love playing Commander decks. And if you ever compare any of my Commander decks to my normal decks, you'll see my normal decks are combo-y, and my Commander decks are a little bit more on the aggro side. And sometimes they'll be combo-y, but also have that aggro twist. And I like Commander decks a lot more than I do normal decks, just because of the restrictions. But so the next card that we run is Carrion Feeder. It's a 1-drop. It cannot block. You can sacrifice a creature, put +1/+1 counter on it, and it's a 1/1. We use it mainly for the sacrifice of the creature part, and it lets us go infinite with a ton of our stuff. So our next card on one of our win cons is Zulaport Cutthroat. Whenever it or another creature you control dies, each opponent loses a life and you gain a life. So we use this to just drain all of our opponents at once because we like to go infinite, and there's like I'm notorious for doing this, but I will kill all my opponents on the same turn, or I will even like let it go to their turn and then kill them then. Like if you've ever played a game of Commander with me and I've won, that's like what I do. I just kill it. Like there was one time when I didn't do it, but it was because I had to move fast because somebody else was comboing off. But yeah, and I didn't even know, like I comboed off and I didn't even know that the combo existed in the deck, so it was nice. But Embalmer's Tools, activated abilities of creature cards in a graveyard cost 1 less to activate. You tapped an untapped zombie you control, and target player mills 1. So we do make a ton of zombies, so it's useful for milling them, but mainly it's in there for one reason and one reason alone, and that is reassembling skeleton. And I gotta pick up this call. Give me a second. Sorry about that, guys. I had to take the phone call. All the phone calls I take are important, otherwise I wouldn't take them. But yeah, sorry about that. So reassembling skeleton. It's a 2-drop. You pay 2, return it from the graveyard to the battlefield tapped. That's why we run the Embalmer's Tools, because it makes it cost 1 less, and then it lets all of our other combos go off a lot easier. In addition, we can mill them. I've not really done that, even though I did have chances where I could have, and milling is really easy in the deck. I've had like 100 zombies in 5 turns. It's not on turn 5, but in 5 turns I made 100 zombies, so it's really quick. Moving on, we have a card called Golden Demise. It's one of our mass removal cards, if you will. It has Ascend. So if we have 10 or more permanents, we ascend, and then something else happens, and we keep ascend for the rest of the game. There's no way to lose it. But hitting 10 permanents is not hard, and if we don't, we might not even want to cast it. Like if our commander flips it, we might just want to draw it, because we do have the option to cast it. It says all creatures get -2/-2 until the end of turn, but if you have the City's Blessing, instead only your opponent's creatures get -2/-2. So if we're playing Two-Headed Giant, we don't wipe our friend's board over there that's just playing all the tokens we can choose. But so yeah, there's that. We run Phyrexian Ghoul. You can sack a creature, it gets +2/+2 until the end of turn. It's another really helpful thing. We use it with our Carrion Feeder. Or we use it instead of Carrion Feeder sometimes, and it can get really big too, and it can block, which is helpful. We run Xanthrid Necromancer. The foil is not any more than the normal, so if you want to go ahead and get the foil, like mine's a promo, but if you want to get the foil, it's not any more expensive than the normal, maybe like 25 cents, but it's a 3-drop. Whenever it or another human you control dies, you put a 2/2 black zombie creature token on the battlefield tapped. Unfortunately, the zombie is tapped. I did one time go infinite, made a ton of zombies. It wasn't in this deck, it was in a different one, but I made a ton of zombies, and then I lost because they were all tapped. So, just be careful of that. Don't rely on him. He's not the best thing to rely on. But we run another card in here that combos really well with him, and it's not hard to get the cards that we need out of the deck. A promo murder, you might want to go with a normal murder, because I don't know how much the promos are sitting at. But it's a 3-drop, destroy target creature, instant speed. It's nice. Just one of those kill cards. We run Dark Imposter. So if our opponent's going to kill one of our creatures, then and we have Dark Imposter down, we can pay 6 and exile the creature instead, and then Dark Imposter will get the creature's abilities. So it's helpful sometimes in case like our Sifter of Skulls is going to die, and we need the Sifter of Skulls, so then we can exile the Sifter of Skulls and just get it back. And then you also put a +1/+1 counter on it, and it's it's constant removal. So if our opponent's playing big things, we can just remove them for 6, and it's just a really good card in there. It's as far as I know, it's not too expensive. We run Crypt Incursion. So this card's really weird, and I'm probably going to get if anybody who's played Magic for a long time wants to put it down in the comments. Why am I running this card? I completely understand. But it's a very good life gain. I've gained 15 life off of it, and one time I even ruined one of my opponent's decks because they were playing a bunch of dredge stuff. But exile creature cards from target player's graveyard. You gain 3 life for each card exiled this way. Never do it on your own graveyard. Just don't. Even if you're going to die, don't even bother casting it on your own graveyard. We've got other stuff that, like, I mean, if you're going to die, maybe, but it helps us gain life. A 3-drop Commander Sphere. It's a little bit of ramp. You tap it, add add to your mana pool 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity, and then you sack it, draw a card. One time I used it to sack it, draw a card, and then get the creature I needed to win the game, because sometimes we just know what's on the top of our deck. There's just ways to do that. Monastery Siege. As it enters, you choose Khans or Dragons. So Khans says at the beginning of your draw step, you draw an additional card, then discard one. Dragons. Spells your opponents cast that target you or a permanent you control cost 2 more to cast. Normally you will pick dragons, but sometimes it is better to pick Khans. So if you're drawing a ton of lands, or if you have a ton of lands in hand, you want to pick Khans just to get them out of the hands, out of your hand. And getting stuff into the graveyard is not that bad either. We run Daxos of Meritus. It's a 3-drop. It can't be blocked by creatures with power 3 or greater. When it deals combat damage to a player, exile the top card of that player's library. You gain life equal to that card's converted mana cost. Until the end of turn, you may cast that card, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast it. So we have a ton of ways to make like infinite colorless or just infinite mana, period. And so if we can get him down, swing with him, and deal damage, which he's got that little bit of I forgot the word. Oh well, he's just he's able to get through a little bit. So if you can hit him with it, you might gain a ton of life, and then you can play the card, and it just makes your opponents pretty mad too because you're stealing their stuff. Then we run 1 copy of Curse of Disturbance. Well, obviously we run one copy of everything. 1 copy of Curse of Disturbance. You enchant a player whenever the enchanted player is attacked. You create 2/2 black zombie, and each opponent attacking that player does the same. So I'm sorry, my hands are shaking really bad, I don't know why. But I'm going to explain this card really quick. So, a lot of people don't understand it. Even, it took me a while to understand it as well. So, you can enchant yourself if you really want to. But whatever the player is attacked, so if your opponent attacks it, you make a 2/2 zombie. If you attack them, you get a 2/2 zombie. And then, so if an opponent is attacking, they get a 2/2 zombie, you get a 2/2 zombie, but no other opponents of that creature would get a 2/2 zombie. So, the attacking player and you get a 2/2 zombie. So if you enchant yourself, you're giving the attacking player a 2/2 zombie, but you're also getting a blocker out of it. And if you're like the biggest threat on the board and you draw this later in the game, you're going to want to enchant yourself because everybody's going to be attacking you. And then you can just sort of like block. And plus we've got a ton of ways to make our zombies basically undying. And just to make the zombies live forever, make immortal zombies. We've got a couple ways to do that. So we run Ashnod's Altar. This is an older version. It's about $5 if you don't want to get, it's not because it's older. It's just a good card. So if you don't want to go out and spend the money to get Ashnod's Altar, you could use any other, basically any other sack outlet just to fill the slot. But it's really helpful because it does make mana. So it's a 3-drop sack a creature, add 2 colorless mana to your mana pool, and basically what it says by you may play this ability as mana source is it is instant speed. So it's a really good card. Now, this card is a really nice combo card. So it's called Arcane Adaptation. When it enters the battlefield, you choose a creature type, and creatures you control are the chosen type, and so are creatures in your deck, in your hand, in your exile, in your graveyard. Any creatures that you own are that creature type. Well, that you control, or that's in your deck. You get the idea. Like, if your opponent steals a creature, it's no longer that creature type. So with this, we're always going to choose human. And it combos really well with the, let me find it real quick, with the Xanthrod Necromancer. And that is because it says whenever a human or it you control would die, you make a 2/2 black zombie, and it doesn't say non-token. So if we make the zombies humans, whenever a zombie dies, we make a zombie to replace it, making the zombies immortal. So if you get what I just said there, and with the Ashnod's Altar you can make infinite mana, you can get things infinitely big because of it. But just remember the zombie is tapped, so don't sack all your untapped ones. Sack one untapped one, and then just sack the tapped one over and over and over again because it doesn't die. I mean, it dies, but it doesn't. You get the idea. Anyway, we run Guafa Hazard Profiteer. Okay, I hope I said that right. It's a 3-drop, you pay to tap it, put a bribery counter on target creature you don't control, its controller draws a card. So that's not the best thing, but creatures with bribery counters on them can't attack or block. So if they have an Ulamog's Pathrazor, which in case you don't know is a 9/9 Annihilator 3, so every time it attacks you have to sack 3 things, you might want to let them draw a card and then just stop that thing from attacking. It's that's why we run it. It's like constant removal there. Mortify, it's a 3-drop instant destroy target creature enchantment. We don't run that much enchantment removal. We run a ton of creature removal in our 5-drop slots. But it's just there for the enchantments, there for the creature. It's a instant removal spell. I think it's like $1, maybe. So it's pretty good. We run Sifter of Skulls. It's a 4-drop. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you make a 1/1 colorless Eldrazi Scion. It has sack this creature, add colorless to your mana pool. So we're generally going to be sacking it for the colorless. We can also Skull Clamp the thing to draw 2 cards. It synergizes really well with the deck. Anytime our Reassembling Skeleton dies, we make a 1/1 now that we can then sack. And there's other things that goes into, but it just combos really well. Our first search card. Diabolic Tutor. It's a 4-drop, search your library for a card, put it in your hand, then shuffle. So we will generally be searching for one of our combo pieces, but if you have other combo pieces on the board, which I said, everything combos with each other, sort of. So whatever you need to go infinite or to start gaining a ton of life to survive, just get it. Gaining life does prioritize. And if you don't have one of the 5-drop cards, I'll point it out when we get there because we're not there yet. But if you don't have one of those things on the field or in your hand, you need to go search it out. It'll actually make the game go a lot easier. But I'll show you it when we get there. We run Pitiless Plunderer. Whenever another creature you control dies, so even if it's like a Scion, if a Scion dies, you still do it. You make a treasure that has tap, sack it, add 1 mana of any card to your mana pool. So we use it with these Scions to go infinite with our Reassembling Skeleton, because now we can make the colorless and the black, and then we can get infinite mana if we're sacking it to something that doesn't require mana to sack. And if we have Zulaport Cutthroat on board, then it's game over. We run Atrata the Silencer, so it's an alternate win condition, and if you want to go search out Atrata with the search cards, I completely understand. It's a great card. It's one of the new ones. I think that she's like 35 cents. But she's a 4-drop 3/5. She can't be blocked. Whenever she deals combat damage to a player, you exile a creature that player controls, so we got some removal, and then you put a hit counter on that creature. Then the player loses the game if they have 3 or more exile cards with hit counters on them, and then you shuffle Atrata into the library. And so that's when you deal combat damage, you shuffle, not if they lose the game, you shuffle. But so, we are running 99 cards in the deck. I'm just going to tell you that again. So hitting Atrata 3 times is very, very unlikely. I did do it in a 2-headed giant game, but I was controlling the board super heavily then. So that was the only reason I was able to actually do it. I had to stall out a couple turns to hit it, but I just wanted to do it. But we were controlling the board so much. Razaketh's Right. It's a 5-drop. Search your library for a card, put it in your hand, then shuffle. It's got cycling for black. So generally, we're going to hope that our commander hits this one, and if she does, we get to go search for a card. So it is like drawing a card, but we do get to choose which card we draw, so it's worth it. Then we run Deadly Visit. It's one of the new Ravnican cards. It's a 5-drop destroy target creature, Surveil 2. The Surveil 2 is really helpful because a lot of times after we have a card on the top of our deck, we're going to hit 2 more lands. It's just the amount of lands that we're running, but if we don't run as many lands as we do, we're never going to have the mana that we need to cast stuff. So it's a good card. Then we run, and this one's really hard to cast because of the 3 blue, but we run Future Sight. It's a 5-drop enchantment, play with the top card of your library revealed. You may play it as though it were in your hand. So using this, we do have to show our opponents what we draw, unless we draw 2 at a time, which there's a ton of different ways to do that. But, so with this card, basically, if our hand's ever empty, it's not actually empty, because the top card of our deck is our hand. And if you draw a land and then the top card of your deck is a land, use the top card of your deck as the land for turn, because then it opens up another option for you. It synergizes really well with a couple of cards in the deck, especially ones with May abilities. Then we run Honden of the Seeing Winds. It's a legendary enchantment. It's a shrine. It's 5-drop. At the beginning of your upkeep, you draw a card for each shrine you control. So we only run 1 shrine in the deck, so it's only 1. But if you wanted to put the other 2 shrines in here, there's Honden of Knight's Reach, I think, and it says target opponent discards a card for each shrine you control. And then the other one is Honden of Flame of something. Anyway, it's a 4-drop, and it says you gain 2 life for each shrine you control at the beginning of your upkeep. So it's not bad. The reason why it's not in here is because it's not an odd one, and Honden of Knight's Reach is just bad in multiplayer formats, so I don't run that one either. And then we run Angelic Chorus, which is basically the replacement for the Honden. It's an enchantment. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain life equal to its toughness. You've seen a ton of the different ways that we can make infinite creatures, so because we can make infinite creatures, we can gain infinite life off of that. And it's just a good card to have anyway. I've gotten up to 90 life without going infinite, and at that point in time, there's like no reason why you should die. So there's Voldaren Pry. It's a 5-drop flying, sack 3 creatures, transform it. And it has Madness for 3, so if you would discard it, you discard it into exile, then you may pay the 3 if you do cast it. If you don't, it goes to the graveyard instead. And then on our flip side, let me flip real quick. Flip, okay. We've got Abolisher of Bloodlines. It's a 6/5 flyer. When it transforms into Abolisher of Bloodlines, target opponent sacks 3. So, like, you sack 3 of our infinite creatures, basically, and now they're sacking 3. It's 100% worth it. We run Final Parting. So, it's a 5-drop. It's a search card, but this one's special. So you search for 2 cards. One goes into hand, the other into your graveyard, then you shuffle. So if you can, and if you haven't already gotten the Resembling Skeleton, which at this point you probably haven't, I mean, it's 1 out of 99 chance, you put the Resembling Skeleton in the graveyard, and then you get another piece of the combo in your hand, and now you're up 2 pieces in the combo. And this is like a 4-piece combo. But you want to also search for Primordial Mist. And this is like, if you don't have it, you want it. It says at the beginning of your end step, you manifest the top card of your library. So you put it down as, you put it face down as a 2/2, and then you can look at all your face down cards on the battlefield. And if it's a creature card, at any point in time, at instant speed, you can pay its mana cost and flip it face up. And then you can also exile face down permanent you control face up, and you may play it, and you may play it this turn. So if you get like a murder face down, you can exile it and then pay the 3 and cast murder at instant speed on your opponent's turn. If you get a land face down and you need another land drop, you can exile the land and put it face down, or and then play it. So it's a really good card. I actually wish I'd found it a lot sooner than me building this deck, because I didn't know it existed until like 2 days ago. But it's a super good card. Then we have Crab. So Crab searches out Regna when you play him. And so, like, Regna's not important to the deck, but she does make 2/2, she makes 2 1/1 warriors every time that you gain life. And she searches out Crab, which is why she's in the deck. Because we need Crab. Crab's one of our win cons. So you pay black, sack X creatures, target player draws X, gains X, put X +1/+1 counters on Crab. If somebody's about to board wipe, you can sack all your creatures, including Crab, and then draw that many cards and stuff. And if you make infinite tokens, you can also make your opponents draw out. Just make sure that they don't have a Laboratory Maniac on the battlefield, because that's a really common thing, especially in Commander. Like, blue decks just love playing Lab Maniacs, so be wary. Also, milling them won't work if they have a Lab Maniac. You gotta get rid of the Lab Maniac first. Pour over the pages. It's a 5-drop, draw 3, untap up to 2 lands, then discard a card. So if we hit it off of our commander, and we've already cast a spell this turn, it's like a free untap 2, and then you draw 2 and discard 1, so it's not that bad. Then we run, this is a promo, it was no more than the normal, so it's an Indulgent Tormentor. It's a 5-drop, flying. At the beginning of your upkeep, draw a card unless target opponent sacrifices a creature or pays 3 life. So an opponent's thing is they're going to want to pay the life until they can't. And then they're going to want to sack a creature until they can't. So you're not going to be drawing cards off of this. But do understand, it's doing work, because you're either sacking, paying 3 life, or drawing. And it is target opponent. So if an opponent is at like 1 life and they have no creatures, you can target them to draw the card. If another opponent is like at 100 life, you can target them and then they'll lose 3. But why would you do that? Because they're not in such a bad position to lose the 3 as the other person. So, like, if you get what I'm saying, choose someone that will, like, it matters to them. There's Liturgy of Blood. It's a 5-drop. You draw a target creature, add 3 black to your mana pool. We run this one once again because if we can get it off of our commander, then we get the 3 additional black, which is really helpful. Unfortunately, if we do get it off of our commander, you're going to have to be casting an instant with that because it goes away at the end of the combat step. We got Flesh to Dust. It's a 5-drop, destroy target creature. It can't be regenerated. It's at instant speed, which is why it's in the deck, plus we can free cast it with the commander. It's saved me a couple times. So this is the one Planeswalker in the deck. If you can see, there's like these little lines down there. It got creased. But it's Liliana Vess. She's a 5-drop. +1 target player discards a card. -2, you search your library for a card, put it on top of the deck, after shuffling the deck, of course. Then -8, put all creature cards from all graveyards onto the battlefield under your control. So you steal every single creature card in every single graveyard, and then you get them. And now your opponents are like, oh shoot, they've got a board now. And once again, like if we're getting milled, it's not that bad. And so it's really useful. Black Market. Whenever a creature dies, you put a charge counter on it. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, you add black to your mana pool for each charge counter on Black Market. It's a 5-drop enchantment. I think it's $1 now, but the reason why we run it is because we kill a lot of our own stuff, and if we're gonna kill them, we might as well have a long-term investment. So that's why it's in there. Eon Chronicler. It's a 5-drop. Its power toughness is equal to the number of cards in your hand. You can take this card out. It doesn't have to be in there. It's one of those silly cards. I like it because of a suspend X. So you pay X and 4. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know what's up with my tablet. It won't record for some reason. It just stops in between. I don't know why. But so anyway, you pay X and 4. X can't be 0 whenever time counter is removed from it. While it's exiled, you draw a card. So what suspend means is you exile it with however many X is. So you exile it with X counters on it. Then every one of your upkeeps, you remove a counter from it. When the last one's removed, you cast it for free. So that's why it's in there. You can take it out. I preferably would, but I don't have anything better to put in right now. Open the Graves. It's a 5-drop. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, you make a 2/2 black zombie. As you've seen, we can kill off the reassembling skeleton a ton, and then we make a ton of zombies, and these ones aren't tapped. And if the zombie would die, we make another zombie. With the Xanthro Necromancer, we can get that out. So it's super duper helpful. Karn's Temporal Sundering. So if we have our commander out, or basically half the cards in the deck, even our planeswalker, we can cast this thing. So it's a 6-drop. You have to have a legendary creature or planeswalker in order to cast a legendary sorcery. All planeswalkers are legendary now because of how they changed the rules, so that's really nice. It doesn't have to say legendary. All planeswalkers just are. Target player takes an extra turn after this one, then return up to 1 target non-land permanent to his owner's hand. You exile Karn's Temporal Sundering. You're always going to want to target yourself, and you're always going to want to bounce your opponent's most annoying thing. Mind Unbound. It's a 6-drop. At the beginning of your upkeep, you put a lore counter on it, and then you draw a card for each lore counter on it. You got to be careful not to draw yourself out with Mind Unbound. If you have to, you would want to save the Karn's Temporal Sundering to bounce your own Mind Unbound, because it can get annoying quickly. Then we have the Regna, flying 4/4 at the beginning of your end step. If your team gained life this turn, you create 2/1/1 white warriors. When you play her, she searches out Krav. Yay. Into our 7-drops. We've got Butcher of Balkar. Whenever it or another creature you control dies, each opponent sacrifices a creature. We kill off our creatures a ton, so our opponents won't have a board. It's very useful for controlling the flow of the game. Then we've got Overseer of the Damned. Because of how Butcher of Malakar works, it just synergizes so well with Overseer. So when it enters the battlefield, you may destroy target creature. You don't have to, but you may, and it can even be your own. Whenever a non-token creature an opponent controls dies, you make a tapped 2/2 black zombie. So with Butcher of Malakar, when you're blowing up their board, you make zombies. And that's just really funny to me. Enigma Sphinx. It's a 7-drop flying. When it's put to your graveyard from the battlefield, it goes into your library 3rd from the top. So if you wanted to, you could even sack it just to get the Cascade triggers. So Cascade. When you cast the spell, you exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land that costs less. You may cast it without paying its mana cost. You put the other exile cards on the bottom in a random order. Because the top of our curve is 7, and we have nothing higher than 7, we can basically cast anything, almost anything in our deck. So, we run a ton of 7-drops, though. And that's because it's the height of our curve, and there's nothing higher than that. In Commander, you're going for the long run, so why not have a ton? Fleet Swallower. Whenever it attacks, target player mills half of his or her library rounded up. It's a 6/6, and it doesn't have to deal damage. And it's target player, so it doesn't have to be the one that you're attacking either. So you just mill half of somebody's library and whenever it attacks. It's pretty good. Alright, so the next card in the deck is Necromantic Selection. It's a 7-drop, destroy all creatures, then return creature card put into graveyard this way to the battlefield under your control. It's a black zombie in addition to its other colors and types. Then you exile Necromantic Selection. So it's a field wipe, nice. It's a good one too. You got Nuzzle Hole Primal Tide, 7-drop, can't be countered, no max hand size. Whenever your opponent casts a non-creature spell, you draw a card. Discard 3 cards, exile it, and return to the battlefield tapped under someone's control at the beginning of the next end step. You'll basically only want to do that if they're about to kill it, and you just can't afford it to die, so. Then we have Pythis, so look at that mana cost. It's absurd. But, it's a 7-drop, destroy target creature. Its controller loses life equal to its power plus its toughness. It has to spend 5 for 2. So, we'll basically be suspending it if we ever draw it. Otherwise, we're going to be casting it, and it would be great if we ever casted it. But, Profound Journey is a 7-drop, return target permanent card from your graveyard to the battlefield, and it has Rebound. So if you cast it from your hand, you exile it as it resolves, and then at the beginning of your next upkeep, you cast it again without paying its mana cost, and then it goes to the graveyard. So we have Thought Reflection is a 7-drop. If you would draw a card, you draw 2 instead. Pretty self-explanatory. We use it to draw a bunch of stuff. Chromium the Mutable. It's a 7-drop with Flash. It can't be countered. Flying. Discard a card until the end of turn. It becomes a human with base power toughness 1/1. Loses all abilities. Gains hexproof. It can't be blocked this turn. So if they're at 1, you can literally swing in with a 1/1. And it can't be killed. It generally can't be killed. Can't be blocked. So you get the idea. It could also be used as the commander if you really wanted to switch them. I wouldn't, though, because Yennett is a much better commander than Chromium in this deck, specifically. Chancellor of the Spires, it's also a 7-drop. You may reveal it from your opening hand. If you do, at the beginning of the first upkeep, each opponent mills 7. It's got Flying. When it enters the battlefield, you may cast target instant or sorcery from the opponent's graveyard without paying its mana cost. You don't need it in here. It's a 5/7 flyer, though, so it's not bad alone. You got Scourge of the Fleets. When it enters, you return each creature your opponent's control with toughness X or less to its owner's hand, where X is the number of islands you control. Yeah, it can get helpful for removing tokens and the little things, because it removes all tokens. Or no, it doesn't remove all tokens, but it can remove a ton of tokens, so it's not half bad. Shromocratus. It's a 7-drop 8/8. It's got hexproof unless it's attacking or blocking, and it can't be blocked unless all creatures defending player controls block it. So if any creature your opponent controls is tapped, if any creature your opponent controls is blocking something else, then it's unblockable. Thing's amazing. Dismissing Dreams. When each creature your opponent's control is an illusion in addition to its other types and has when this creature becomes the target of a spell or ability, you sacrifice it. So that thing that puts the bribery counters on stuff, now it kills them instead of making them unable to attack or block. It's pretty nice. Plus, the bribery counter effect does not resolve, so your opponent does not get to draw cards. They just sack it. So on to our non-basic lands. We have Myriad Landscape. It enters tapped. It taps for colorless. You pay 2 tap it, sack it. You search for 2 basic lands that share a land type, put them on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Then we have Detection Tower. It taps for colorless. You pay 1 tap it until the end of turn. Creatures your opponents control with hexproof can be the target of spells and abilities you control as though they didn't have hexproof. So, oh, and by the way, it affects your opponents too. So if your opponent has hexproof, no, they no longer have hexproof. If a creature your opponent control has hexproof, it no longer has hexproof. Forsaken Sanctuary, it enters tapped. You can tap it for black or white, so it's pretty self-explanatory. Submerged Boneyard, it taps for a blue or black. Jawar Isle Refuge, it taps for a black or blue. When it enters, you gain a life. Orzhov Yogate taps for a white or black. Cascading Cataracts, it's a nice one. It's got Indestructible. You tap it for colorless, pay 5 tap it, add 5 mana, and any combination of colors to your mana pool. Basically, it turns our whites and blues into black as needed, which is what we are going to need the most of is black. Reliquary Tower, you got no max hand size. We use it in case we have to draw a ton of stuff. Path of Ancestry, enters tapped. You tap it, add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. When it is spent to cast a creature spell that shares a creature type with it, you scry 1. Now, because of Arcane Adaptation, you can make your commander human and all your other things human, so then you scry 1 every time that you use it to cast a creature spell. I just think that that's neat. Then we run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 planes. We run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 islands, and then we should run, I think, either 10 or 11 swamps. So we run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we run 11 swamps, 10 islands, 10 plains, then all those non-basics and the rest of the cards in the deck. That's the deck tech. Maybe I can show you guys a couple games of it later, but thank you guys for watching. I know this has been a longer video. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, that's been Yennett, the Cryptic Sovereign, as a deck tech. So yeah, you get the basic idea. I explained the majority of the combos within the deck. There's some that I was not able to talk about today, but yeah, you get the basic idea. So if you want to build it, I think it's like, oh, and by the way, the commanders are like $2, so she's a bit expensive, but it shouldn't be too bad to build. Chromium's like $3, but yeah, it's pretty budget for a commander deck. And if you wanted to get like I was running a couple foil islands and swamps, and so if you wanted to get like foil out your land base or make it full art, it would look a lot better. And if you wanted to just like get the promo reliquary tower, it's like $9. I don't have one, but yeah, you know, foil it up, promo it, and eventually make it better. If you guys have any ideas on how to improve it, please let me know in the comments. I have reached the 13 subscriber mark, although I don't know that I should count it because 4 of my subscribers are the exact same person. Anyway, so I said I was going to do a 13 subscriber special. I'm going to upload it probably on Friday. But if you guys like it's going to be a deck tech, and the main card in the deck is called Triskaidekaphobia. So that means the fear of 13. So if you want to build a deck with Triskaidekaphobia in it and then submit it to me in the comments on any of my videos, because I will get notified if there's a comment. But if you want to submit me a deck tech from with a Triskaidekaphobia deck, you can go to MTG Goldfish, make a free account there. It's free to make an account there. Then you can make a deck with Triskaidekaphobia as the win condition. Submit it to me in the comments, and I'm going to give a shout out to the person who has built the best Triskaidekaphobia deck. So once again, it's called Triskaidekaphobia. So you can look it up. It's the Fear of 13. It's an actual thing, and it's a card. So on Friday, I'm going to be uploading my deck tech for it, and I'm going to give a shout out to whoever has the best deck tech for it. Just leave the URL to the deck from MTG Goldfish down there. You can also do it with some other websites that you will probably see popping up in images right now, because TCG Player, that's it. You can do it from TCG Player. I think it's free there too. But thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe. I thank all 13 of you, except for the fact that there's really only 9. But thank you guys all so much for watching, and let me know if you like this video, if you like the commander deck. Let me know if the commander deck works. Any ways to improve it. You know, just let me know all that stuff. Thanks for watching. This has been a really long video, and thank you.